Aloha, Kadie. All right, so what we're going to be doing is do a quick review. Now, you don't have to be in tune for this, but it really helps. So if you don't have a tuner, just tune to this. Low E, it's the 6th string, closest to your nose. It's the thickest, so it's the lowest. The highest is also an E. It's the 1st string. So if that's 6 and this is 1, that means that B is the 2, G is the 3, D is the 4, and A is the 5. Each one of these we kind of view in a different way, but let me break it down to brass tacks. When we're playing, I view the guitar as having 4 strings, and then these bottom 2 are just bass notes, meaning I kind of like alter those back and forth. Because when we tune this, we're going basically up between a certain set of notes and intervals. Now, what I'd like you to do is take your first finger, put it on the 1st fret, not on the nut, not on the fretting, but right in the middle, and go to that, 3rd string, the G string. So not the E, not the B, but the G, and put your finger on it to make a G sharp. Now this note, G sharp, is also an A flat, but we'll talk about enharmonic equivalence later, meaning that every note has 2 names. Every chord has 2 names. Every chord has 2 names. So what we do is we try and figure out the easiest way to play chords, and then we do substitutions. So if we did have this first finger on the G sharp, and then our second finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, the 5th fret, not the 5th fret, the 5th string, the A string on the 2nd fret, that would give us a B note. So there's our G sharp, our B, and remember how there were 4 sharps in the key of E? When we got rid of all that, we were left with 1, 3, and 5. Now, if we already have the G sharp, and we know that the other note we have is a B, we're only looking for 1 more note. So if our first finger is on the 1st fret, on the G string, making it a G sharp, our second finger is on the A string, A sharp, or B flat, B, that is our G sharp and our B, and then the note right above that B on the D string, D, D sharp, or E flat, E, is what we're looking for. So we have a 1, 3, 5, E, G sharp, B. If we remove our first finger, we have a E, G, B, which is our secondary chord of the wake. E major and E minor. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through lesson 2, teeter-totters, right now, and then reiterate what spider exercise are. Now with this, if you have your pick, that's great. Don't hold it with the pointy edge out, hold it where it's round and beveled for right now. We'll get into why we wanna turn that around later when we're doing arpeggios, and how to hold that when we're doing fast strumming, like tremolo picking. But for right now, let's try and keep it simple. Everything should be super slow. This is what a beat per minute is. If I did this for 1 minute straight, you would have X amount of beats during that minute. This is about 45 beats per minute. Meaning if I did this, this would be 60 beats. No, that's 65. That's 60 beats per minute. It should be the same as a second hand, being able to do that through the thing. So what we want to see is a downstroke for the 1, and then we keep our right hand going. Now the best way to do that is just strum it. 2, 3, 4. During this process, when you play your E major, if you're finding you're having an awkward time moving from 1 E major and then doing the teeter-totter where you change your fingerings and playing on the 1 again, you can actually let your right hand smack your leg, which is cool. Deep breath, keep that elbow out of your belly and try not to look over the top. The best way to actually play when you're practicing chords is to play in front of a mirror and just watch your fingers. You'll still see everything right in front of you, and you won't be blowing any air out of your diaphragm. When we start this at the 4-minute and 30 mark, we're gonna play this twice, and then we're gonna switch back and forth between the 2 versions. Then we're gonna play the E minor and switch back between those, and then play the E and then the E minor, just to know the 2. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and go with E major, 2, 3, 4, E major. Now we're gonna switch after this next one. Here comes an E major. Switch. Make sure you keep that other hand going. And then we're gonna switch back to our E major. Wonderful. Let's do 2 more. Yeah. Now after this E major, remove your first finger so we have an E minor. All right, now because they have different sets of fingers and we just opened up another set of fingerings, we can actually play the E minor with 3 different fingerings, which it will turn out to be very, very cool later because we're gonna be able to move these structures up to get chords like an F sharp minor, G minor, G sharp minor, A minor. But you see how all of these chords that I'm playing, they base themselves off of one principle. This thing is moving up no matter how far we go. If we bar and leave a fret in between, we get a minor chord. All chords that move up the fretboard are gonna do that. So for this week, try and practice doing 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And notice how I'm taking my fingers way off the fretboard. It's over exaggeration. You just honestly want to keep your hands kind of nice and curled up right here so you can move back and that finger's already ready for another chord. Cool? All right, those are teeter-totters. Practice the E major and practice the E minor, switching between them every other one. A great way to do is what we started off at the 5-minute mark. Here are the spider exercises. Take that pick, just put your fingers over the top of this thing. The best way I can explain it is when you put your fingers just on here, lightly tapping or something, that's about the pressure you want to put on. You don't want to hold it down. You want it to mute. Take that pick and go down, up, down, up, down, up. Those are going to be quarter notes, but we play them as 8th notes. So we'd have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now slow that down and just get 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are 8th notes and quarter notes. If we just did 1, 2, 3, 4, just all downstrokes, those would all just be quarters. If we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, those would be half notes because they're only worth 2 beats. And then if we had whole notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, it's exactly like our rhythm exercise for this week. Dig on it? So what we do each week is we try and exemplify what these things mean to each other. So if you could do this exercise and play this chord, we could do quarter, 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 eighth, quarter, quarter, 8th notes, quarter, quarter, 8th notes, quarter, quarter, 8th notes, quarter, 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 quarter. And we work on these things and see them for what they are, and then eventually we stop going quarter, 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 and we just do that. Rhythm is derived from that process, okay? So in the time that I do not see you, I'll see you the 18th, but in that time that I'm not going to see you after our next lesson probably, you're always going to be practicing what we just talked about. What I do when I wake up in the morning, I stretch out and I do the same spider exercises. I generally go through the 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up, and then I do my faster exercises, which allows me to actually feel where my fingers are going without thinking about it. And then I'll change it up. I'll do like a 1, 3, 2, 4. Or a 1, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. I can tell my fingers what I'm going to do in real time, like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. See how my fingers here are moving around and jumping onto different frets? That's not what we want. We actually want our fingers to stay on the fret that they're always going to be over. So when we turn ourselves into doing C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, notice how I was able to get through a scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, without ever having to move my hand up and down and slide around. Sliding around and wheelie, wheelie, wheelie is reserved for a very special thing. Modal movements and modal playing, or basically playing scales. So in the key of E, you can play, sorry, all the way from one point all the way up to the other top. What we want to do is get comfortable playing an E major in its different forms, so when we move to F, we can do our do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, in every type of possible combination. And what happens between you and I, we build a vocabulary so we can communicate, and then you can communicate with other people. The information you learned today about the root, the tonic, the submediant, the mediant, they're just a bunch of words. If intrinsically you know that this sounds like a major and this sounds like a minor, then we're sitting pretty. If you understand the reason why you're doing these spider exercises and going up and down is so you can learn how to go up and down with this pick and become very efficient, and the way to become efficient is to go super slow. So what I'd like you to do is spend 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, right when you wake up, review the last thing that you worked on. When I said there's 2 things you do, 1 is practicing the practice of practicing, and 2 is having fun. If you are practicing the practice of practicing and you are enjoying it, you are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. When you're playing these types of movements, I still get goosebumps when I learn something new. And doing something like this, where I could see like a D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, and I could derive some sort of melody out of. It makes me happy because I know that I could go back and like learn how to play and do some notes in between it that I've never tried to do before, and trying to feel. And they're all based off the rudiments that I learned right when I started. And then every 2 or 3 years, I played enough or I learned more about music that it made it a little bit more interesting. Started adding on different instruments and saw how the saxophone has a lot to do with like a violin or a mandolin. And then the different way of playing those chords is not too terribly hard if you have the concept of how to play and to understand music. So what we're going to work on, as I said, the 3 fundamentals. Know how to play these shapes and chords and recognizing them to be on one instrument or another. Being able to hear the notes that are inside those notes as being nothing more than just triads. Every chord is nothing more than a triad, and then you add another note or 2 notes to them so you get different clusters. This chord, E major, if I were just to take this E major and have a 1, 3, 5 and sharpen that 5, I call that an augmented chord, and I'll show you why we use those chords and how they feel. And why they make so much sense in music on every instrument. I really hope that you share the passion for music as I do, and if you ever have any questions, put them in the comments section below. I'll get back to you. Other than that, practice those spider exercises, work on those teeter-totters, and next time we get together, we're just gonna add more information so you can have fun while you're practicing the practice of practicing. It's very nice meeting you and your folks. I'll see you next week, hopefully, and then if not next week, I will see you on the 2nd of the next month. Aloha.